a 2017 interview with the New York Times, composer Hans Zimmer spoke of creating the score for the film Dunkirk. He claimed, "It's all about the suspense and tension and not at all about emotion." This entire film was very much about the rhythm and about the pacing. Music and cinema are two art forms that are both based on this passage of time. As is self-evident to anyone who's ever seen a chase scene, music has a dramatic effect on the pacing and the tension in a scene. The ultimate example of this interrelationship between time and film and music can be seen in another Christopher Nolan and Hans Zimmer collaboration, Inception. The opening brass chords were built by dramatically time-stretching two notes from a piece of source music that reoccurs throughout the film, a song by Edith Piaf. This was a building block for the signature Brahms that turned into an internet meme.
What's the most resilient parasite?
This idea was used to develop the score, and each cue is based on an equal division of tempo, whether double speed, half speed, quarter speed, etc. And as characters in the film transfer between these different dream states, the music can shift between tempos, much like the shifting of gears. This Inception example is a pretty meta approach to time, music, and film, but their relationship can be traced to the earliest days of filmmaking. And in order to understand its history, it's helpful to look at the classical Hollywood model of filmmaking. This makes up the conventions that are the mechanics of filmmaking, the use of continuity editing to shape a scene, the use of cinematography, point-of-view shots, shot, reverse shot, establishing shots, narrative. These are all part of this classical Hollywood model of filmmaking. Claudia Gordman, in her book Unheard Melodies, does a great job of analyzing the conventions that make up music in this classical Hollywood model. Now, don't mistake these ideas as rules on how to create film music, as there are no rules, but this is rather a set of conventions of how music is commonly used. One of these conventions is the idea of using music to provide formal and rhythmic continuity. This is the idea that the musical score serves to plug the holes in the soundtrack. Music can smooth out discontinuities of editing by piecing everything together. One example of this is montage, very common music convention heard in films from Rocky to Rushmore and dating back to the 1930s grand opus Citizen Kane.
That's a mistake that will be corrected one of these days.
You, Mr. Bernstein.
Even outside of montage, music can be a very useful tool to handle transitions between scenes. On the Oscar-winning film Spotlight, music is frequently used to illustrate these timing differences and transitions. The first act of the movie is marked by the very short cues in the score marking transitions, serving almost as like chapter markers.
Mr. Bradley.
Hey, so the PD...
This helps to create pacing in the story, introduces characters and locations in a logical way that breaks up the narrative.
The famous Walter Robinson in my conference room.
In comparison, here is a much different use of music to create pacing.
Good afternoon.
In There Will Be Blood, there's very little music in the opening 40 minutes. But as the story progresses and moves into a new act, the score comes in with a very deliberate tempo and pace, which then the music continues on for 10 minutes. This kind of frames the story into acts, and this increased tempo of the music really pushes the pace of the story.
What about this?
AC mode, Logit, Redlick, car.
What's it held at?
$6 an acre.
What about this?
That's the Belvins, and that could be got, I'm sure.
Can everything around here be got?
Sure.
In an even more extreme example, here's a clip from another P.T. Anderson film, Magnolia. And there is no score at all for the first 40 minutes. And when the deliberate pace of the first cue comes in under a card, which may as well read Act 2, the music's tempo really pushes the pace of the story, following this extended tracking shot. And once this cue starts, music does not end for over 30 minutes, and the incessant rhythm and pace of the music only comes out when pushed out by various pieces of source music. Here, the music again has a direct impact in the pacing and tempo of this extended scene, but it's a very different application than the example we saw in Spotlight.
Where's Richard and Julia?
Oh, good. They're here. They're fine. They're in the dressing room. So we're all set. Okay. See you later.
Yeah, you go to it, handsome.
See ya.
Okay, buddy. Love you.
And here is one more example from Spotlight. This time, another montage. And Spotlight actually has 3 of them, 3 montages. And this is about journalists picking out names from directories. I can't say it's the most engaging and exciting part of the movie, but the music's pace and tempo really keeps the motion moving. It is also worth noting that the editing of the film does not follow the tempo of the music, otherwise it would feel a little formulaic. But then the music will catch some cuts from time to time, creating a sense of form and frame to the scene. Much like that example from Dunkirk and many other films, this montage shows the benefits of music's tempo in creating the pace. This is one of the reasons that many picture editors will cut the film to music. I hope this look at formal and rhythmic continuity has provided some insight into how to use music to shape the pacing and the timing of your film, and how to structure timing and transitions between scenes.